It is Monday, which means it is time to review a DC comic, and today's choice is the Justice Society of Superheroes, and this is their origin story. And I'll be upfront, I find the Justice Society of Superheroes to be an incredibly frustrating concept. And the reason for this is because they are about 25 or 26 characters that are members of the team. Well, main members of the team. But of those 26, there's only about 10 that I like. But those 10 are among some of my favourite DC characters. So what usually happens with the Justice Society of Superheroes is they'll have a book, and the lineup, it'll be like 4 characters that I really like and want to read about, and then 5 that I'm really not interested in. I think they're boring and bland. Fortunately, this comic fares quite well in that regard. There's only really one character that, well, maybe 2 characters, but there's really only one character that I find to be uninteresting. This fella, Minuteman. He's rubbish. I think he's got a rubbish costume. I think he's got a rubbish power. I think he's got a rubbish name. No offence to Stanley Lee, but this is your worst creation ever. And the other character is this one here, the Pratt. I don't mind him that much. I just like when he's used in more like a supporting character or a sidekick, like in the Van Morrison Justice Society of Superheroes one, where he was Dr. Fates's like sidekick. That was good. That was good use of him. This comic actually makes good use of him too. And the other characters, though, they are really among my favourites. We've got Stephen Hawkman. I really like him when he shows up in team books. We've got Sandman there from the Metallica song. Then we have got Green Lanterns. This is one of my favourite Green Lanterns. Alan Scott, he's really good. Him or Jonathan Stewart are my favourite Green Lanterns. Although I like Gary Gardner as well, but you're sort of not meant to like him. And Kyle's okay as well. And I don't mind Hal when he is like the baddie, or he's like trying to redeem himself. I like all the Green Lanterns, really. Then we've got Flash here, and this is my favourite Flash. Sorry, Barry and Wally and Bart and Pietro, but this guy, he has got a funny hat, so he's the best one. Then we've got Dr. Fates, and I am a big fan of Dr. Fates. He's in my top 10 DC characters. I've got loads of his comics. I've reviewed a few of them. He's one of my favourites. And then we've got the Spectre, who is my favourite DC Comics character. So really, if you just block off this one guy, this is a book that was made for me. Like, this is a perfect team. This is, as I said, their origin story, and there's a picture of them there. This isn't a scale, like, they're not that big, really, because if they were that big, they would find fighting, like, wars and stuff easy. There's a lot of writing in this comic, a lot of writing, so if you're a fan of reading, you should check out this comic, because there is a lot of words. And all this stuff here, it isn't actually about superheroes. This is just like a history lesson on World War II. So that is interesting. And basically what happens is FDR Roosevelt, the king of Americas, he wants to get the superheroes to help fight in World War II. And yeah, we've got a folder with all of them. And I was just thinking now, imagine if the paperclip holding Minuteman's photo, if that like got loose and then the photo kind of just flew away, you would have a really good team. And then we've got this is introducing the Flash, and he's wearing his hat, so that is good, and he's fighting gangsters, and then he goes and meets Green Lanterns. And we've got this advert here for Cosmic Odyssey, which is quite frankly overrated and at best mediocre. And the Flash and Green Lanterns, they go to this castle which has been overrun by Nazis. Although I don't know if they are Nazis. He's wearing a swastika there, but I don't know if that makes him a Nazi, because we don't see if he is drawing supervillains using Nazi imagery, which is the main thing to be able to tell if someone is a Nazi. and there's this big Nazi robot, and what actually happens is Green Lanterns, he gets his butt kicked by this robot, and I think this was a really interesting way to introduce Green Lanterns in this story by having him get beat. I think this is quite understated. It would have been really good if this was like fleshed out more. And then we've got the Flash, he goes to fight the robot. And then we've got Dr. Fates. He's seeing all this like with his magic, and that is a really, really good image of Dr. Fates there. Like that is really good. And then he summons some of the other characters. We've got Minuteman and Minuteman, and then on the next page, I think he gets no, it's just Minute. Have I missed a page? I think I'm missing a page. No, the others are later on. He just gets Minuteman at this point. And then what happens? I do have one criticism of this book, really, and that is the colorist. The colorist, when the art gets really detailed sometimes, and the colorist handles it really badly. Like, it looks like you can't make out the detail, and like all the colours sort of look like they're running. And this isn't my copy. This isn't just my copy of it. It's like this in the digital edition. It's like this in the trade paperbacks, and it's a shame because the art's really good. Dr. Fate and Minuteman show up and they help fight some Nazis. But then what happens is Hitler is like the leader of the Nazis. He was the one before Ethan Van Sciver took over. He has like this magic rod, and he calls down, these are the fairy people from 4 comics. The writer of this, Roy Thomas, he's absolutely obsessed with the idea of Adolf Hitler getting the fairy people from Foreland to fight for him. He did this exact story twice in The Invaders, and then he did it at least 3 separate times with the Justice Society of Superheroes. And basically what happens is they're overpowered by the fairy people of Fairyland. And this is where Dr. Fates, he goes to get the rest of the team. And it's really good, actually, because he goes, there are 4 others I may call upon from across a yawning sea, and one of those is possessed of such power that until the destiny of a world swayed in the balance, even I have been loath to call upon him. He's talking about the Spectre. I really like that. He writes him up really well. And then we see there's Sandman there. We get a really good intro for Sandman. Like, we get to learn a bit about him. We get his like little, this is like his mantra thing. Then we've got Stephen Hawkman there. He's talking about his girlfriend, Hawking Girl. And I think the writer, Roy Thomas, he isn't that into the Pratt either, because both Sandman and Stephen Hawkman, they got quite a good little write-up. But this is how we're introduced to the Pratt. Pratt, somebody calling me? Apparently so. And then you'll notice, well, what about the Spectre? There's a Spectre there, and Spectre doesn't immediately show up. Instead, the Sandman and Stephen Hawkman and the Pratt, they show up and they help fight the Nazis, and it's really good. And then it gets really good because the Spectre shows up, and again, that is a really good image of the Spectre, and I really, really, really like how the Spectre is written in this one, because he is like, the Spectre is one of the most powerful people in the DC universe, and look, there he is, single-handedly fighting back a Nazi armada, and that is just really cool. Like, it's kind of clunky, I've always thought, that the Spectre is a member of the Justice Society of Superheroes, because he is so, like, miles and miles above the rest of the power. And then what happens is, there's another bit of the Spectre here as well. Here, I really like this as well. This is like the first meeting of Dr. Fate and the Spectre, so this is really good. And so, Spectre, we meet at last. I have been aware of you ever since I myself first came into existence, and I thank you for heeding my mystic call. You were the only one among the 7 whom I could not have compelled to do so. And why should I not have come, Dr. Fates? Only a year ago, I was Phil Spector, alive, breathing, and an American. Such loyalties sometimes die, it seems more slowly than cells of flesh and blood. My hand, then, My spirit shall not seek rest again until this threat is ended. I have this comic because the Spectre's in it. I've got nearly all of his comics. I'm just missing like some of the Golden Age stuff and some very early Silver Age stuff. And sometimes you get comics like this, and you're kind of worried that it maybe isn't good enough to be in a Spectre collection. But this one really, really good for that. And even if it wasn't, Dr. Fate, as I've said, I like so many of these characters. And then we've got some more stuff with them fighting Nazis. And then what happens is the fairy people from Foreland, they go to the White House to kill FDR Roosevelt. And Green Lanterns, he's trying to fight them, and he actually he doesn't do that well. He gets kind of, uses too much power and he can't use any more. And what he was holding all of the Justice Society of Superheroes like afloat, and they all fall down from like a height. Most of them are alright, but the Pratt, he falls and he really hurts himself. But even though he's hurt, the Pratt follows this woman from Fairyland, follows her because she's snuck in to go and kill FDR Roosevelt. And he jumps in front of the spear and saves FDR Roosevelt's life. And it's really good. That is a good use of the Pratt, because that's like his contribution for the issue. And here's what I mean about the art, where the detail kind of the colour just makes the detail fade. Like, this is in focus now. Like, it looks really sloppy. But this is my favourite part of the issue, because during all the fight, both the Pratt's alright, but FDR Roosevelt, he did actually get stabbed after the Pratt saved his life. So the Spectre, he goes to heaven, and he has an argument with God, trying to say that they should bring FDR Roosevelt back to life. And it's really good, this. It is basically just a Spectre story at this point. And I really like it. And there's a good image there of the Spectre, a good splash page. And God eventually agrees to bring FDR Roosevelt back to life. And the Justice Society of Superheroes agree to fight on against the war. And there's a big team shot of them. And, this is a good comic, this one. A lot of words in it, but it's really good. I was thinking maybe I should do... No, I won't, because it breaks my schedule up. I was going to say... Actually, I do want to do it. It's a good idea. I think one day I might do DC Who's Who. And just kind of like go to the teams on it and like go down the members. Like I could go to the Justice Society of Superheroes, their page in DC Who's Who. And I could just like say which ones I like, which ones I don't like, stuff like that. I think that's a good idea for a video. Maybe I can do it on like a Friday when I'm struggling for ideas. But yeah, this comic, it is good. I really like this. It is very dense. There's so much going on. There's so much writing. It's a shame that the art is kind of ruined a bit by the colouring, but and to be honest, some of the writing is a bit overwhelming at points and kind of redundant, and sometimes little phrases that don't really make much sense. But it's a good story, it's a good comic, it's well worth the money. I rate this comic 7 thumbs up.